Welcome to ENN.
On TV.
It's brought to you by Security Dodge. I'd like to start off this big old ENN, and I mean a big one, by saying good evening to Michael.
He's been here a long time, and he's going to be here even longer.
That
has legs.
I think it had. Yeah, I agree. I didn't know where it came from at the time.
I still don't know where it came from.
The anger kicked in so quick, but it really led to something special. And I'd like to say good evening to myself and Don.
By the way, if anyone wants to spend some quality time.
Nah.
What about to our friend Richard in Manhattan?
But what I do...
That's true. It's true. New York Knicks, Don, there's nothing in sports quite like the in-season tournament, all right?
It's the NBA Cup. Get it right.
Yeah, come on. Play along.
Last year was the in-season tournament. Now it's the NBA Cup, brought to you by Emirates.
Really? Emirates got involved, huh?
Oh, it's all over the courts.
Because your average fan is really interested in what the schedule is for Emirates Flights.
No, that's a casual fan who's who's taking a trip to Dubai over the weekend. A little Emirates first class, drop 20 G's.
Right, for somebody that wants to be able to have a living room and shower on their flight.
Well, hold on, don't say it like it's a bad thing. It's something everyone would want. It's just not possible.
Not that basically, a 0.25% of the fan base can afford.
I made a really big mistake today, Michael. God, do you hear that gulp?
No.
I can't believe. Anthony, did you hear it?
No, we heard that.
I mean, listen, I get crushed for every ice cube, and Don can gulp a lump right in Michael's ear. He doesn't hear anything. I heard it all the way in Dallas. Anyways, I made the mistake, Michael, of not selecting my meal in advance for the flight today.
I never do that. I can't believe that you would do that. Every meal they serve on an airplane is awful.
Well, so you don't say anything?
No. Whatever they give me, I usually pick at it and don't eat.
I don't think it's awful. It's not
they
ideal.
have never figured it out. Really. Just like, if you really want to make airline food work, have like 20, 30 pies of Domino's. People will love it. Then instead, they give you a rubber chicken or some kind of pasta that's terrible. There's not a good airline. Even in first class, it's awful.
Listen, I'll push back. I think JetBlue, their mint service, they do a pretty nice meal. But Michael, you don't make a bad point. That instead of trying to do like foofy fancy, but on an airplane, why don't you just say like, hey, we have Shake Shack burgers and we reheat them. That's what they are. Enjoy. Speaking of enjoying, let's listen to the dulcet tones of Don enjoying a beverage today. I made a really big mistake today, Michael.
Oh yeah, it's gross.
God, do you hear that gulp?
Well, these microphones, I swear to God.
I'm telling you, Peter, when I say I was wrong, right to you. I should have heard that. As you said, you heard it in Dallas without the benefit of a microphone.
That's right. Can I get that one more time? That was a sound.
I'm sorry.
I made a really big mistake today, Michael.
Now, did you have to enhance?
God. Did you hear that gulp?
Well, they're enhancing, Michael. Don't feel bad.
No, they're not
Don't
enhancing.
apologize to him. Were you enhancing?
Oh, yeah, it's louder than it was on the air.
Yeah, see?
But I heard it in my headphones.
This is radio PEDs.
Schmeedies.
But I don't know. There's something over the last few months. He's developed a really loud gulp. Earlier this week, I got a tweet from a listener saying, did anybody hear that gulp?
But why don't you just turn the mic off, you animal?
I'm just in the moment. It's not like I'm eating.
But it's just I don't know why it's something new. He's developed a new gulp.
I think he's become a slob.
Wait, and by the way, could this lead to a really great nickname? Hi, ready for this? The future of Don's career. Donald Big Gulp LaGreca? That's something, Michael.
Well, I mean, he could get a big advertising contract with 7-Eleven.
Yeah. Don, and then they do a different promotion, Double Gulp. Don Double Gulp LaGreca.
And they can have Don's head at the Big Gulp dispenser in every store around the country.
I love it. I think there's something here, Don.
And then they could tie it into like at Christmas because he looks like Santa. It would be great. Everybody would win.
No, listen, 7-Eleven would be on board, and you do the raids, and it'd be your face on the building.
Go see Don this winter. All right, well, back to the big Knick basketball vehicle last night. A nice win over the struggling Sixers. Coach Thibaut Diaw, what impressed you the most?
The all-around play, being strong on both sides of the ball. You know, they're obviously, a different
playoff
team
music
with Embiid, and then, Paul George obviously got a lot to him as well. Oubre is
it never gets old. It just doesn't.
Smart and tough. So
Peter, when is it going to get old? Why do I laugh like a little school kid every time you do that?
If I were to base it in what I know about the show, I think it'll get old the second I do it to a baseball manager when Michael's not ready.
No. You know how we feel about sound.
I know, but
we hate sound.
Say what you want about Boone. At least he sounds like he's interested in what he's saying. But why does Tibbs just sound like he'd rather do anything else in the world? You know what?
He would.
He sounds like when Francesa would give you the leaderboard on golf. Sergio Garcia's
New York.
We got to rebound better, and then when we rebound and we move the ball down and score, take a nap. I love the guy. I want him to coach the team.
By the way, it's a nice win.
Coach.
Nice win last night.
But you know what? I mean, do everybody a favor in the post game and just play the other coach.
Can I tell you something, though, Peter?
Go ahead.
They have a chance to win their next 4 games and go 9-5. All of a sudden, the whole thing, all the nerves, which I said was ridiculous anyway, then you'll see. You'll see exactly that they're a really good team. I mean, did you watch Cat yesterday? It was unbelievable. Now, I know that Embiid's not in midseason shape, but he owned Embiid. Cat is so great. People don't realize how great this guy is.
All right, tell me, answer this right now. What's better, the play of Karl Anthony Towns or the hair of Shams Charania?
The play of Cat.
Are you looking
now,
at
you want to
ESPN
say
right
the
now?
hair of Deuce McBride. That's a different story.
No, look up right now at your screen.
We don't have ESPN on right now.
Oh, NBA Today. Shams' hair, Don. He's putting on a clinic every day.
He's got the money for it now.
With all due respect, I have a little bit of a conspiracy theory. Woj was pushed out.
Wow.
I believe.
Well, wait a minute.
You're out of your mind.
No, listen, hear me out. It makes sense. This is a hair conspiracy, Don. I think this was a blatant attack on the bald community.
Wow.
And they said we need to get a gorgeous head of hair on this TV. And let me tell you something. Even as a bald guy, and I stand by my bald brothers, ain't nothing like what Shams Charania is doing with his head.
He really wants to get himself fired, doesn't he? Doesn't he, Don?
It sounds like
Yeah,
it.
he really
I've
does.
Never heard
what do you
this
mean?
side of Peter.
First of all, you don't insult Woj. How dare you? That's an anti-Woj bomb.
Well, what are you talking about? Woj went on to do a thing that he dreamed of doing.
But you said he got pushed out.
Well, I said it was for a hair decision. You thought that was... Do you think now someone's going to call... Rosenberg's in New York saying, hey, Woj was fired for being bald. I know we live in a sensitive world.
Don almost got fired for something he didn't say because they thought it was him.
Right.
Well, what was that again?
Joe, who was the actress from The Core and $1 Million Baby?
Oh, yeah. She won 2 Oscars.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I was always a huge fan of her.
And Michael was a big fan, and she was like...
Hilary Swank.
Hilary Swank, and she was on the cover. It was a Cosmopolitan or something, and she looked ravishing. And Peter, Joey had some comments, a very... elementary, just not something you want to say on the air, and a bigwig, one of the biggest of the early 2000s.
Yep.
Talking about hair again. Okay.
Right?
What was it?
George Bodenheimer.
Yeah. Called
up by boss Mike Thompson and said, I want that guy fired. And Mike Thompson said, what'd he say? And he said it, but he went back and listened. I'm sorry, it wasn't Don. It said it. And I got called in, and they thought that I had said I didn't say that. And like, well, who said it? I'm like, well, you've got the tape. Go listen to it.
Because Don wouldn't throw his friend under the bus like Rogers threw Mike Williams.
But it was going to be one of the 3 of us.
Or Michael reminds me of the time recently when Phil Mushnick accused someone on our show of saying something when it was someone else who said something, but then was mad at the person for not saying who the other person was who said it.
Well, he accused me of saying it, and then he wanted me to tell him it was you, and I said, no, listen to the show. Listen, you send me the clip. I said, I'm going to send you the clip. Do the work.
Yeah.
And it was you, but I wouldn't give you up. You know why? Because I love you.
He does. But the good news is then Joey wasn't let go.
Right.
Which
So that
tells
you know,
me that-
you know what I take that as? That I take
wanted
that
Don
as
out.
They wanted him
yeah.
out.
Bodenheimer just wanted Don out, and when they said, "Well, unfortunately, it's not Don," he said, forget it then."
He was not a fan. I don't know. We've reconciled since, whatever the problem I had. I mean, they wanted me fired for having Rob Halford and Judas Priest on a Saturday afternoon.
Well, they were
show.
right about that.
No, they weren't right about that. It's a Saturday afternoon show as the lead singer of Judas Priest.
All right, what was a crazier interview? The Don Judas Priest interview or the Ryan Rucco 45 minutes with Skylar Aston interview? Both have happened on these airways.
And they probably congratulated Ryan on his get.
Right. That's why he's second in command at the NBA.
That is true.
That's right.
And Mike Thompson, God bless him, it said, no. I stand down, George. He's not going anywhere. At least that's the way he told me.
And you know what the amazing thing, too, is, Peter?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever had any There's not a nicer person than George Bodenheimer. I mean, just
I met him once or twice.
Big-time
Lovely man.
executive that you'd ever meet. And for some reason, a lot of people had it out for Don.
Didn't care for me, but
now he likes you.
Well, last year I saw him in the Rangers suite.
Yeah,
and he shook
likes
my
you.
hand. And,
Everybody in management has come around on you.
but I really do think, Peter, this sounds ridiculous. Joey said a lot of questionable things on the air in the early days of the Michael Kay show. Stuff that if it were said now, he'd be
I know where you're going with this take.
pulled
I
out
like
by
it.
his underwear.
And also, if it was said when we actually had an audience, because the early days,
Right,
there
the
was a
early
rumor.
days, it was rough.
So are you
So I believe
suggesting
that-
what I think you're suggesting?
what
that
I'm
a lot of people thought the things being said
Yes.
by Joey were said by you,
Well, because
and
here-
you've been living it down ever since?
Well, because it's the Michael Kay show. Don is doing updates. Joey was the board op. So if you don't recognize the voice, well, that wasn't Michael. Why in God's name would the board op speak? It must be the guy that does updates that jumped in.
right? The yo-yo.
But they didn't know Joey. They didn't know that Joey was very comfortable on the mic.
Nobody really knows Joey.
Joey, listen, I love Joey. We had a weird situation when we first started the radio station where we actually had a studio in which the board op was in the same room as the hosts, right across from us. And that made the interaction really easy. Then we moved to another studio where Joey had to be in another room like every other radio station on the planet, and he threw a conniption fit.
Yeah, he didn't like it.
Couldn't do the job. Didn't understand how he could possibly do the job.
I love that.
But he was able to overcome, and he did.
All right. Listen, we've been going down memory lane. Before
I'm sorry.
No, we have. I've been a ball. It's me, I'm doing it with you. But let me just hit a couple of basketball notes on the way out.
Why don't you do that?
Yeah, well, number one, we got to send love out to Pop. It's been now reported the San Antonio Spurs have let everybody know. It was known that there was a medical emergency going on with Pop, not specifically what. Now we know that he suffered a stroke on November 2nd. He is recovering. There is no timeline for Pop's return, but we give certainly send our well wishes out to maybe the greatest to ever do it, Greg Popovich. Now, speaking of all-time great coaches, Eric Spoelstra blamed himself for a massive mistake last night. He pulled a Weber for the Miami Heat, calling a timeout that the Heat didn't have. Let's hear from Spoelstra on what happened.
That's on me. I feel horrible about it. There's really no excuse for that. I'm 17 years in. When we had talked about it in the huddle, I knew that we didn't have anything. I just got emotional and reactive on that, and I just made a horrendous mistake there at the end. It's a shame, because we really fought back. We had some great defensive possessions, hustle possessions, those 50-50 balls, and then Tyler was just sensational. You don't want it to come down to a mental error like that.
And lastly, in the NBA, guys, we had the big return. Clay was back in the Bay to play against his former team, the Golden State Warriors, and Clay netted one of his best games of the year, 22 points. They came up short. Let's hear from Coach Steve Kerr on Clay's welcome.
I was a little misty-eyed for sure. That was really cool. An amazing moment. Our crowd was great. Clay was great. You could see how much he enjoyed it. Beautiful scene.
And Klay Thompson on the return to the Bay.
I actually didn't really think much of it because I wanted to go in here with an open mind. It was a really cool experience. I appreciate the fans very much. The captain's hat ended up being a great touch because I'm such a passionate boater. I saw a lot of familiar faces in the crowd. That was a warm-hearted feeling, so gratitude towards myself, something I will never take for granted. Very awesome.
Nice. You appreciate it.
And that'll do it for ENN, brought to you by Security Dodge. Shop 24/7 at securitydodge.com. during their Black Friday sales event.
Real quick, we were talking about the health of coaches. I reached out to Mike Westhoff. If you've heard the news, he had a health-related issue step down in Denver with the Broncos. But I spoke to him. He says he's perfectly fine. He had a little bit of an episode. And considering where he is, he decided, you know what, maybe it's best to kind of just, this is maybe a wake-up call to kind of step away. But he is fine. It was no big deal. It just, at this particular time, he just wanted to walk away. But anybody that's concerned about his health, don't be. He says he's fine. Perfect health.
There you go. We love Mike. We love Mike.